What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy, your comics guy, and we're here for another week of the weekly Bry-Fy podcast of the week. I just wanted to do that because I'm weird. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. If you can't tell by the sound of the vehicle, I am on my way to work, which is kind of like the only way I can record nowadays, at least peacefully. I do every now and then record at the house. I mean, I think, what was it, last episode? I recorded part of the podcast episode from my home mic, and the sound quality is so much different. It's so much better because obviously there's not a ton of background noise when I'm recording at home versus when I'm recording in the car. But anywho, so I'm happy to be here this week. Got a couple of things to talk about as I scroll through the list of nifty nerd news items I want to cover. But should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. And next week is Thanksgiving. So I don't know. I thought about not doing an episode next week. I guess we'll just kind of play it by ear because my job, means I have to work next week. And that's the one bad thing about shift work is like sometimes you have to work holidays, you're going to miss birthday parties or friend events and things like that, which really sucks. But, you know, that on the flip side, my job, because of the shift work that I work, there are times when, you know, I work nights and things are happening during the day. Like my son has like, field trips or school events. And so on like the weeks where I work the weekend and I'm off the weekdays, like I get to go to those, be really present there. And then even if I work nights, I'll put up with the tiredness and I'll go to my son's school and like be present there and things like that. And it's also fun for me and my wife because, you know, for normal people, working a 9 to 5 means you're only home on the weekends, which means your kids are only home on the weekends because of school and things. But because of shift work, you know, me and my wife, we can go out during the weekday while RJ's at school. So we can go have fun, go catch a movie, have like little date days. And so like that's one of the really good things about my shift work job is that it allows for a lot of personal time and just a lot of like family time. But like I said, there are days where we miss some things. But, you know, for us, my wife and I and my son, we've learned, we just have to schedule it on different days. So that way I can still be a part of it or we can have family things. And, you know, the way that life works now, it's like no one, I don't mean no one, but like, you know, it's not uncommon to schedule like family Thanksgiving on a Saturday or like earlier in the week. Like people move and flip things around. Hell, one of my families before I was even working, because Black Friday was such a big deal for after Thanksgiving, you know, you had Thanksgiving Thursday and then Friday was like big sales on all the stores. They would like not have like Thanksgiving. It was basically just like prep for Black Friday, like they were going to war or something. Because if you guys haven't seen like old videos of Black Friday, I don't know how young or old you are listening to the podcast. It was a bloodbath. Like it used to be. Like I used to, when I was in high school, go to my local Walmart to watch people fight. Like that's what we did because it was funny and because it was always guaranteed to happen because like you were getting like crazy 50% off or like 75, like crazy shit deals on some of these items, and they were hot items. And people were literally fighting over them. They were yelling at each other, screaming at each other, kicking each other, punching each other, and slaying each other. And we wanted it. We wanted to see that. We wanted blood. And so that was like the fun thing to do in a weird small town way. But anyway, so yeah, we'll see how we go next week about it. Because like I said, I'm working, so maybe I'll record another episode or just kind of take the week off because you guys are going to kind of take the week off, right? Most people work a normal job, which means they don't have to go to work like I do, but we'll see. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy what we have in store for you today and for the thing that we're going to talk about for the review portion of the Bry-Fy podcast. With that being said, let's get into the nifty nerd news. All right, guys, welcome back to the nifty nerd news portion of the Bry-Fy podcast. Thank you guys for hanging around this much. And I'm actually recording at work and not in my car this time. So the sound's a little different. Using the same microphone that I use in the car, but now just in a different locale. So we'll see how it sounds. Maybe it sounds better. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Anyway, up first in the nifty nerd news, Ryan Reynolds says Marvel is obsessed with Channing Tatum's I was going to say Joker, not Joker, a Gambit. In an interview, Reynolds said, I honestly don't know what goes on behind closed doors in the bookkeeping sessions at Marvel, but I do know they are obsessed with him, referring to Channing, in that role. It's kind of like the same situation I went through. Once you show that it works well, that's really what they need. Sometimes they just need to see it in action. And so, if this is true, this is huge news, right? We could be getting more Channing Tatum in the future, which I really hope for. I really liked what he did in the role. I thought he looked great, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And I really would love to see them explore that character more with Channing Tatum. So hopefully this works, because we had it with Ryan Reynolds with that test footage that was released, which helped get this movie made because of just how much that little, almost like a fan made thing, kind of, right? But I mean, obviously it had Reynolds involved in it. Seeing that and the traction that it got really pushed for a Deadpool series, and now look where we're at with Deadpool. I think the same thing could potentially happen with Gambit. Am I saying Gambit is the same type of is it going to be the same type of wow power that a Deadpool brings? Probably not, but I do think that character definitely deserves more time in the future. Talking about future, Kevin Feige talks about the future of Marvel at D23 Brazil, and specifically with the mutants. He said that basically the X-Men will be important to the MCU after the events of Avengers Secret Wars. So after that, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how they're going to bring in the mutants. Is the mutants are from a different universe, different multiverse, different universe within the multiverse, and then they get smashed together where they all that. To me is the easiest, clean-cut way to bring it all together in one thing. So maybe that's the way that they're going to try to do it. Other things that Feige talked about while at D23 Brazil. Talked about the plan going forward is for Marvel Studios to release 2 films and 3 shows a year after 2025. So basically they're going to focus on what's going on right now, and then after that move to the 2 and 3, the 2 films, 3 shows a year, from 2026 on. He did tease that basically that they're really just going to work on their current projects up through 2025, and then after that, or maybe at the end of 2025, start revealing what they have slated for 2026, 2027. Some other things that they talked about, Blade said that we're committed to Blade. We love the character. We love the version that Mahershala, I always say that wrong, I feel like, Mahershala has of him. He didn't say that, I said that. I can't say the name right. But basically he said that they're committed to Blade, they love the character, and that all that he can say is the character will reach the MCU. What he does not say is Mahershala's version of the character will reach the MCU, just that Blade will reach the MCU. Now, that being said, with Wesley Snipes saying that there's only been one Blade and ever only going to be one Blade in the Deadpool movie, is that a premonition of what's going to happen in the future? We don't know. There were some other things, but those were the key things that I wanted to talk about. Some other things that came up during this time and around that time was we got a special look at D23 Brazil at the new Thunderbolts trailer. And not much more information's given, and it's really crazy. We did get the Thunderbolts title with an asterisk on it, which is really strange that they put an asterisk. And when Marvel was asked about it, they essentially said there is a reason for that. Like the asterisk in the Thunderbolts title is purposefully there, and the rumors have gone crazy. What could it mean? Does it mean they're actually a different team and not really the Thunderbolts? Are they the Secret Avengers? Like, who are they? And there is like some moments where you see the Red Guardian says like, oh, we're the Thunderbolts, but it could be edited a different way because then it cuts to Bucky saying, you can't say that. So why would he say that about the Thunderbolts when like there is no Thunderbolts team to my knowledge? So maybe what the Red Guardian really says is we're the Avengers, and Bucky's like, nope, can't say that because they're really the Secret Avengers, or the Dark Avengers, whatever you want to call them. And Thunderbolts is their official name, but with an asterisk because they're really the Avengers, or the Secret Avengers, or whatever you want to call them. So I don't know. The trailer looks great though. This looks like it's going to be a fun time of a movie, like a really fun ride. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out. Some more stuff on how that plays out. Macaulay, well, actually, we're going to stick with Marvel before we get into the Culkin of it all. So Denzel Washington has revealed in an interview that he will be in the next Black Panther movie, Black Panther 3. Supposedly he's been in talks with Ryan Coogler, and he is currently having a role written for him. Don't know what that role is. There's a lot of potential of what he could. Some people have thrown out stuff like Dr. Voodoo, which I thought was kind of funny, but that'd be like a really cool character to see, only because I got a little bit of him in, what comic was I reading? It was a long time ago. Was it the Mighty Avengers comic that Dr. Voodoo was in? I can't remember, and I loved the Mighty Avengers. That was a really cool comic, and I'm a big fan of that. And I wish they would do that on the live screen, but having a team of, because this version, I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but essentially it was all people of color in Spider-Man, which Spider-Man was really weird. And he wasn't in there for a long time, but it was essentially a Avengers team of nothing but people of color, which I really enjoyed, but due to climates around this time, like there are going to be people that just hate it just for the fact that like they're like, oh, it's woke because there's just people of color in it. But I mean, I don't know. I would love to see a movie like that. Hell, Black Panther was a people of color movie, and I mean, people did hate on it for that because, oh, there's too many, like, where are the white people at? I don't know. Where are the white women at? No. But Black Panther fucking rocks, man. People are going to turn up for good shit. And I love Black Panther. That's one of my favorite movies. But anyway, Denzel Washington's going to be in the third Black Panther. Really excited to see potentially what that could be. And I mean, he's a great actor, so it'd be really cool. Now, back to the Macaulay Culkin of it all. Macaulay Culkin has signed on to join season 2 of Amazon Prime's Fallout series, which is really, really interesting and really cool. One, I'm a big fan of the Fallout series. I loved watching it. I love all the characters. Supposedly, he might be playing a smart, science-y type reoccurring role for season 2. Will he make it to the end of the season? I don't know. I guess it just depends on how well he performs as the character. Who knows? Like, who knows what plans they have? Maybe it will just be a one-off thing for him, like a one-season thing for him, and then he dies horrendously, because like that's part of the comedy of the show, right? Like, it's funny, it has really horrendous things that happen to people, but sometimes in a really funny way or in a very deserving way. Like when the one guy, like one of the main characters gets the power suit armor, and how he gets that and what happens to the previous owner of that armor is really funny, and like how it all plays out, and but also really gruesome at the same time. So I don't know, we'll see. But I'm kind of excited. Like, I'm excited for another season of Fallout because it was just such a great and fantastic show. Moving on to one of the last things we'll talk about for the Nifty Nerd News this week. So, quite a few episodes ago, I talked about how Marvel Comics was including another QR code into their comics, but not just so you could have a digital copy. Like they used to do like these digital copy codes. So you would have the comic, you download the QR code and gave you a digital version of the comic that you could have on your phone, on your tablet or whatever, so that you could both have the physical copy and a digital one. Because let's face it, like collectors want the physical, but readers want to be able to read it. But if you're a collector, you don't want to damage your physical shit. So you have the digital one, right? Well, then Marvel decided, hey, like people are like cheating by like either selling the codes or I don't know, like they felt like they were losing out on stuff, losing their money. And then like they felt like, oh, people are spoiling things, so people are missing out on stuff. And so we want to find a way to combat the spoilers in our comics and things like that. So what they decided to do was add extra pages or to like give extra story, and they would hide it behind a QR code in the back of the comic. So essentially, I mean, the way it was explained through Marvel was, look, you're still getting your 22 pages of comic, but we're adding bonus page, like a bonus page at the end to incentivize people not to, I guess, cheat or like give it away. I don't know how this really was preventing spoilers and stuff. So like I guess essentially they were moving their books from 22 pages to 23 pages and putting like the last page behind the QR code essentially. So like they were like, hey, your comics are now getting one page larger, but we're hiding the last page behind a QR code. But they were spinning it in a way that was like, no, you're getting a bonus page. But the whole point was to put like the spoiler thing that happens at the end of the comic, because that's like how comics work, right? They get you excited for like the first however many pages, and then the last page is supposed to be like either a type of conclusion that builds to what the next story arc is going to be, or like, you know, like, oh, like, well, Spider, you know, it was always like a cliffhanger type thing. And so now putting it behind, not no longer being in the physical book that you're reading, but now in a digital format. And so essentially what a lot of people felt like, and even I felt this way, was that people were being stripped of their complete story. And so what happens when servers go down? Let's say for whatever reason Marvel just completely bombs all the movies, lose all their shit, and have to shut down everything and have to shut down all the Marvel servers and the comic servers. What happens to all those digital books? They don't get to come with you unless you were downloading them onto a hard drive and like, or like, I don't know how you would do it, like screen print all these comics onto a hard drive. So that way you're holding on to them. So if something were to happen to these servers, well, you still have them. Not saying you should do that, but not a bad idea either. But so like my comic, if I just totally rely on Marvel to keep this QR code page safe for me so I can always come back to read it, if it were to ever go away, it's no longer useful for me. Like my son can't come back and read my comics and then go to this server that no longer exists to read the page that no longer exists because Marvel no longer exists. Like, you know, it's kind of like the digital game stuff that we fight about all constantly is like, well, like if it goes away, you can't play these games anymore. So why are you paying for something that potentially can just be taken away from you? Anyway, all this to say, X-Men comics for Marvel are no longer going to have this QR code because the outcry has just been that brutal. And they just finally just said, you know what? It's not worth dealing with it. It's not worth dealing with all the hate. Our writers are getting upset. Our editors are crying. No, I don't know if that's really what's happening. But basically, the fans' outcry, like the fans spoke, and it's been decided, all right, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. We're sorry. Like, well, I don't know if they said they were sorry, but they're just like, fine, have it your way. And so that's a big win, right? Yeah. And then to wrap up the Nifty Nerd News today, guys, kind of on a sad note, well, not kind of, is on a sad note. Actor and voice actor Tony Todd passed away this year, quite recently. Famous for being in Candyman. I think he was in Final Destination. Big thing was like he's done a bunch of voiceover work for like Masters of the Universe, the animated stuff, and then of course voicing Venom for Spider-Man and things like that. And so, oh, and then he was in The Flash too. I think he did Zoom. it was the character's name in The Flash. But yeah, he did a lot of cool stuff, from video games to animated stuff to live action characters, and it just sucks, man. It sucks that he's gone, because he did a lot of cool stuff. There's still Spider-Man games coming out, so now they're gonna have to get a new person to do the voice. In fact, there's some stuff coming out that he's still tied to, coming out in like 2025 and maybe even further. Things are in post-production, so it'd be interesting. It's always like a weird time after an actor passes away, because there are still works that a lot of them have done, and so it's like, they're no longer there. So even if like the show or movie kind of like leaves what happens to their character up in the air, the actor will no longer be a part of it. So it's kind of really sad and upsetting. So we'll see what happens, but gonna miss you, Tony Todd. While there were a lot of things I wasn't like directly like a fan, not a fan of, but like, I don't watch a lot of horror movies and stuff, so I never watched Candyman or things like that. But I did play the Spider-Man game, so I heard Venom's voice, and so like that, and watched Masters of the Universe Revolution, and so his character is Scareglow. Now, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I hear it now. So yeah. But that's it for the Nifty Nerd News, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this portion of the podcast. Up next, we're going to just kind of wrap things up with some, who knows? We'll talk about something. And then we'll get out your hair, guys. So yeah, stick around. All right, guys, welcome back to the final part of the Bry-Fy podcast. Thank you guys for sticking around so much. We talked a lot on the Nifty Nerd News, so I won't spend too much time with the thing to review. And honestly, this week, it's just a rehash of what we talked about last week, which was Pokemon trading card game Pocket. Mainly because I'm so freaking addicted to this game, but also just the crazy speed at which this game has grown, and just things going to the future and what I'm excited about. Kind of wanted to talk about it this week just because I want to get you guys involved. But so yeah, if you weren't too caught up to speed, Pokemon trading card game Pocket is the newest Pokemon app from the Pokemon company, and I forget who the other company they work with is, like DNA or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, it is essentially a very streamlined version of the Pokemon trading card game. It's I don't want to say dumbed down rules, but it's just a faster paced set of rules. Some of the card moves are different from those of the normal trading card game or the trading card live, which is Pokemon trading card game live, not to be confused with Pokemon trading card game Pocket, is another Pokemon trading card game app, which is very confusing, I know. But that app, Pokemon Live, is a literal digital version of the actual Pokemon trading card game. So, like, when you buy booster packs from the store, they come with digital codes that you can then use to get Pokemon cards in Pokemon Live. Now, Pokemon Pocket is completely different. Those code cards do not help you in this, and it's just a whole new version of the game. So there you are, caught up to speed. Now, what we wanted to talk about this week is this game has, in the week that it had been out, had garnered or gained 30 million downloads. It's highly popular. It's trending on almost all app trending charts and all that like that. And I gotta tell you, it's been so much fun. One, it's a simpler version of the card game, which means it's way more accessible for people new and old. Two, like I mentioned, it's brand new, so these cards are all brand new. So you're not up against people that have been playing for months or weeks. Well, now at this point, maybe 2 weeks, but you're not playing against people who are so well established and have all these amazing cards, and you just can't compete. Like, that's where I felt when I went to play Pokemon Live was that I was just so far behind on the curve that I just couldn't compete with what was out there. With Pocket, in the packs that I was, in the cards that I was able to get out of the booster packs, like I feel competitive. Like the decks that I have now are not perfect, but they are competitive, and I've been able to accomplish great things with these decks. So I'm really happy and excited about that. So with all that, the Pokemon Company and for the game have talked about future updates and their plans going forward. One of the big things that they mentioned, and we've seen it on our screens, it's just been grayed out, is a trade option. So trading will be coming to Pokemon Pocket. There will be some limitations on it. They haven't mentioned anything. They haven't really alluded to what those limitations might be other than rarity. So will you only be able to trade rare cards, or will you only be able to trade things less than super rare cards? So we'll have to see what that means going into the future. They have talked later this year, so before the end of the year, they plan on releasing a new booster pack, which means, so right now there are 3 different booster packs that you can choose from. They usually have the same pull rates for like base Pokemon or like 1 diamond Pokemon. When you get to the like 3 and 4 diamond and like higher rarities, certain booster packs only have certain cards. So you have to pick like a Pikachu, the Charizard, or the Mewtwo if you want to get certain cards out of the game. So adding a 4th pack, what does that mean? Does that mean we're getting new cards? Most likely so. So I'm excited to see what new cards are coming to the game and what different types of mechanics they might add. Maybe not different mechanics, but a different move set. So something to combat the meta that's formed. But as like there was a clear 2 type of deck meta that emerged when this game first came out. It was either Mewtwo EX paired with a Gardevoir, which Mewtwo, his big attack, you discard 2 energies. But with Gardevoir on the field, you get to give back one of those energies the next turn, plus every turn you get an energy. So it would do the move, lose 2 energies, but the next turn, Gardevoir plus your normal energy would give those 2 energies back. So you're essentially able to do his strongest attack every turn without consequence. The Pikachu EX deck, which was very popular, was Pikachu would come out, you would have 3 electric Pokemon on your bench, and for 2 energies, Pikachu's able to do 90 damage. It'd do 30 damage for each Pokemon on your bench. So by turn 2, you're dealing 90 damage very quickly. Mewtwo, it took turn 4 before you had enough energies on the field, or on Mewtwo. So by the time Mewtwo gets its 4th energy, Pikachu could already hit it for 180 damage, which was enough to knock it out. So those were like the 2 strongest metas in the game. Now, since then, different cards have found their home and their place and found their audience where people are using those cards. In fact, I have like 3 other decks that are, I guess you would consider meta, but not like the strongest meta, but are powerful in their own right. So, like I said, with the new booster pack planning to release later this year, I'm really excited to see what new Pokemon or new move types it potentially brings to the game. Also, they've already announced they want to do more events, and so I don't know if we're getting one by the end of the year, but we are going to be getting more events, which means probably more promo cards and just more chances to open booster packs, which is really what this game runs on, right? Is you open booster packs, get cards, and use those to make your decks better and beat your opponents. So really excited about that. And like I said, while battling is a major aspect of this game, battling is not the only thing you can do. This game definitely wants to showcase collecting cards as well. One, it allows you to set up binders or displays on your social page, like within the game, so your friends can come look at the new cards you got or things like that. Also, the full art cards in here, you can only find digitally in the Pokemon Pocket app. They're not released in physical copies. They're nowhere else. Now, that being said, I have seen people on Instagram who are recreating the cards for a customized physical version of the card, which is really great. They aren't Pokemon legit, so they're not play legal. But if there's like a certain card in the digital game that you really love, there are people out there more than willing to make a physical copy of that card so you can display it in IRL. But that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about. Please get this app. Be my friend. We can open booster packs together. We can share cards, because one of the cool things about this is like booster packs that you open will, what is it called? There's this thing called Wonder Picks. Wonder Picks is a 5-card draw, and you get to, they'll show you the cards that you could potentially pick. Then they flip them all over, shuffle them up, and you got to pick one out of the 5 cards, and you get whatever card you turned over. When you have friends, the Wonder Pick is actually the last booster pack that they opened. So you get this, 1, see what kind of cool cards your friends have picked up, and 2, get a chance at getting a rare card if they picked a rare card, or just filling out what other cards you need from whatever deck you want to build. So this game really builds itself on the social aspect of Pokemon, and I'm really excited. And once they add trading, it's going to only be more sociable as a card game. So I'm like even more excited for that. But yeah, that's all I wanted. Just wanted to shout out the game. It's got over 30 million downloads and counting. More stuff is planned for just later this year, so within the month. And I'm still having a hell of a time playing it. There are still 2 events going on right now. I think one event is getting ready to end. I think the Lapras EX solo deck is about to end, where you play against an AI deck and you can get some cool promos, and one of those promos being Lapras EX, which is being used in one of the meta decks, and I'm using one right now, so I'm really excited about that. Well, I have 2 of them. And the other event is the PvP event, which it just unlocks emblems for your social page, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. We will see you guys next week. Bry-Fy out.